If you are new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show.
You didn't mention that I was a sailboat trailer expert.
Oh, yeah. We're coming here, and there was this trailer, and I didn't know what it was, and I said, oh, that's a sailboat trailer, which I didn't know that you had any knowledge of sailboat expertise whatsoever.
Well, I've grown up by water my whole life, so I know things.
Well, I know tractors, so there you go.
Okay.
With your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Sometimes when it comes to gardening, you want to grow plants that actually work for you, that you do not have to do a whole lot of maintenance. And we're going to go over a list of perennial fruits and vegetables that can do this. Now, with any plant, there is a minor amount of work that needs to go into this, but these are plants that will live multiple years and feed you with, really, you don't have to go plant it every year and that type of thing. So let's talk about asparagus for being one. This is the asparagus time of year. We talked about it with Greg Keys a couple of weeks ago about planting it. Asparagus can last 20 to 50 years. You need the disclaimer on all these are it's all but one, Jerusalem artichokes, we'll talk about that. All of these, you have to give a certain amount of time in order for these things to get mature.
Right, that's just it, is that this is a commitment. So it's not something that if you want something instantaneous and
farmer's market, yeah,
farmer's market,
Woodman's Outpost, beans and barley, go buy it there.
Yeah, go buy it there. But definitely, these are plants that are going to take a little bit of time. So asparagus, there's a few ways you can grow it. You can buy a 1-year crown or a 2-year crown, or you can start it from seed. After the 3rd year is when you're going to get that harvest.
You don't want to harvest the fronds or the growth spheres until they're at least the diameter of a number 2 pencil.
Right. So if you see the asparagus coming up, maybe you planted it last year and you get excited, you're like, oh, I have asparagus now, and it's tiny, it's spindly, let it go, wait till next year.
And sometimes you can intercrop in those patches of asparagus with tomatoes. Those are what is recommended if you're going to grow something additionally in that spot to utilize the space more effectively. Rhubarb is another plant that can live up to 15 years. You will have to divide this. We can do it in the ground or containers, but that 3rd year is that key of when you're going to be able to get good stalks, or you don't want to eat the leaves. The leaves are toxic. The stalks is what you're wanting to do on them.
A lot of people like rhubarb and want to grow it, so that's definitely something that's going to come back year after year.
Now, just because we name these off, just don't go to Blue Mel's or your garden center and buy it. Find out if you even like this stuff first before you commit to planting it and the effort and going into it. Like I talk at our garden talks, we get questions, and we've had questions about, for example, how do I grow okra? Well, do you like okra? Not really. Well, then why are you growing it? Not really sure. So you want to make sure you know that you like this stuff. Buy it at the store. It's not going to have that out-of-the-garden flavor, but it's going to give you an idea of if you even want to attempt to put it in your garden.
Right. So then we have the Jerusalem artichokes or the sunchokes.
This is something that you can plant now, get the tubers online, and you're going to have a harvest by October. This is the exception to all of these.
Right, yeah. This is more of an instant gratification perennial plant. However, it could be invasive. So it will spread. And so if you are like, I'm not sure about this, what if I don't like it, I have these tubers, whatever, you might want to just try to grow it in a container first.
Raised bed container. We've got a designated 50 square foot area in the garden where that's always going to be now till the end of time. Now, each plant can produce between 4 and 15 pounds of these tubers, and the plant actually can get 8 to 15 foot tall, and it's related to the daisy and the sunflower. It does put on small daisy-like flowers later on in the season, and it does grow very well here.
They're very pretty flowers, so it's kind of a beneficial plant in that way, too, that they are very pretty flowers.
And we've grown them in all forms and fashions. So, and we had a big one behind the compost pile, which we didn't know where that came from, that produced about 8 pounds of
I think we
tubers.
planted a container there. I don't know.
Possibly.
So the walking Egyptian onions, or the Egyptian walking onions, they are onions. They're a spring onion. You plant them in the spring. They're going to grow a top set or a top bulb. And what happens is that top bulb falls over, and then it plants itself. And you harvest the roots. So it's like, that's why they call them the walking onions, because it basically plants itself, but it falls over. So it kind of is like it's walking.
Yeah, as it grows, tips over, roots, Another plant grows up, falls over, and it'll progressively work. If untouched, it'll walk across the field, essentially. Yeah.
So that's why they're called that. But that is something it won't get the top bulb the first year, so you would actually leave them the first year.
They're just like regular onions, the biennials.
Right.
They'll produce seeds
in the second year you could get that harvest. Horseradish, I'm not sure if I think you can harvest your first year. It's kind of it's a root crop. It's kind of a...
You'll harvest it and it looks like parsnips, but it has this immense aroma. You can eat it just like you would a carrot. The horseradish intensity doesn't occur until you actually grind it or shred it, because then it oxidizes, and that's where that intensive flavor comes from that we're familiar with what horseradish is known for. But it will grow down just like carrots underground. It looks like a weed. If you did not know what it was, you would just assume it's a weed and you're just going to cut it off and kill it or mow it over, that type of thing. It has big broad leaves on it, and it can last upwards of 15 years, and you can divide it you can take those chunks or carrot-like item roots and move it to a different location. Not recommended for containers because it really does grow very deep. You just want good, rich soil. Even they'll grow in poor soil. Jerusalem artichokes will grow in poor soil too. That's the benefit to those.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to say it's an aggressive root, but it will grow in some bad soil. And so then that's definitely one you can.
And that's some of the multiple vegetables. These are the most common ones.
Now, if you live in a warmer area, you can grow kale year round. We had kale that one year that grew up until like December or so, because kale is a hardy plant once it's established.
Right. So those are the vegetables and root crops. Let's talk about some fruit and berry items here, in which can be that long-term commitment but produce year after year with minimal amount of work.
I want to talk about strawberries really quick because we get a lot of questions about this. People want to start a strawberry patch. They don't quite know if that's something they want to do. There's a lot of misinformation out there that you can grow in containers, that you can grow off the side of your straw bale, or you see these really cute strawberry planters at the garden center, and you're like, oh, that's cute, but it's not really like that. Strawberries they need a more permanent home, definitely.
And they're going to produce, based on your variety, either June bearing or ever bearing, 2 to 4 weeks a year, and you're going to have to maintain them. If they're in a container, you're going to have to continually water them. We have them established in the ground in a 150 square foot area. Our patch is now going on 8 years old, so its life's about over 5 to 7 is about your max on these. But if you want to grow strawberries, just go to the pick your own farm. Very affordable. You can get more berries than you know what to do with, or the farmer's market. If it's not something that is beneficial to plant 3 or 4 plants in a container and try to maintain 48 weeks a year to benefit you, that was 4 weeks to get a few berries off them. That's our professional opinion on that. You can do what you want, but we don't put something in its spot other than strawberries. Or I put a tomato in that spot to get 20 pounds of tomatoes versus 6-8 ounces of strawberries over a growing season. So that's that. Most fruit trees and nut trees are 3 to 7 years before they will actually produce on that. So let's go to the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Hotline. We have a question. Caller, you are on the air.
Well, good morning. So happy to be on the air with you, both top of the morning to both of you again. And good morning, Milwaukee. Good morning, Mr. Debo. Speaking of the edibles, I'm in a neighborhood here where I'm surrounded by the berries, and I noticed that every once in a while when they start to turn, either burgundy or purple there, I'll go ahead and pick some and eat them. But I've got walnuts in the neighborhood, and I noticed a lot of these people are just letting a lot of this stuff go to waste. Sometimes I'll bowl some up, but the walnuts I can point out about 3 walnut trees, and I just noticed a lot of this stuff going to waste. So I'm just hoping that a lot of people will, that are familiar with a lot of these things, and a lot of this stuff is just growing like, right off of backyards and stuff that are just growing wild, and they just let it fall to the birds will get some, the squirrels may get some, but I just see it just hits the ground and goes to waste, I can't eat it all, but I'll try and get some of it,
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of these places, it's a pear tree, whatever.
Yeah,
This stuff's edible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a couple of the pear trees and surrounding areas as well. But a lot of these berries, I guess, raspberries, possibly blueberries even. More so raspberries, but the raspberries and the walnuts, I see a lot of that stuff going to waste. And until a couple of years ago, I seen these. I said, "What is it?" And it actually was a walnut, because down in Oklahoma, well, my dad and his side of the family, pecans and walnuts. So I should have knew, I know what a pecan looks like, but the walnuts, I would have never known that walnuts were grown way up here. So, but I see a lot of the wild walnuts being grown in the local Milwaukee area. So thank you very much. Have a great day and wonderful show. Thank you. Love you both.
Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for calling. So yes, a lot of these you want to be. You may have this stuff in your neighborhood. One, you want to properly identify it, and two, then if it all is on somebody's property in which they're not accessing it, or maybe they are, because pear trees produce a lot of pears. Nuts trees produce a lot of nuts. You can go, hey, do you mind if we kind of, I'll can this up for you, or whatever the case is. Just don't let it go to waste. It's money being thrown on the ground, essentially. Nature's giving this to you.
Right, especially if it's right by the sidewalk or something, and you want to, see if it's hanging over the sidewalk. You can always knock on their door and say, hey, can I harvest some of this?
A lot of times they're going to say, yeah, go ahead. A lot of times they're
going to say, yeah.
So, again, nut trees, fruit trees, about 3 to 7 years minimum before they will produce. But, again, there's a lot in the city here that are producing yearly. Thank you for checking out the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. For more, go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com for full-length in-studio video and podcast replay of Season 1. Season 2 underway and added weekly. Tweet us at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG to be part of the program.